Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving straight into Lesson 6, and let me tell you, we're looking at something absolutely awe-inspiring, the very architectural blueprint of God's house. We're talking about the church and divine order. So if you've ever found yourself wondering exactly where you fit into this massive family, or how spiritual authority actually plays out in real life, well, you are definitely in the right place. Okay, here's our quick roadmap for today. 1. Welcome to God's family. 2. The Godhead and divine order. 3. Spiritual leadership and authority. And 4. Proper conduct of the flock. Let's jump right in. Section 1. Welcome to God's family. Your place in the body. You know, the moment you give your life to Christ, you undergo this massive, fundamental shift. You go from being a standalone individual to becoming a living, breathing part of a collective body. The source material defines the church as way more than just a family, though of course that warmth and belonging are absolutely crucial. It actually defines it as an army. And as a building currently in progress, it's literally the house God is building right now. And think about it. Recognizing the church as God's army means realizing there's a distinct mission, organization, and discipline involved. You aren't just joining a weekend social club. You're being drafted into a divine structure. Because you are a literal living stone in this building, isolation, it's simply no longer an option. You actually have a strict, non-negotiable mandate. You must not live to yourself. The expectation here is active, intentional engagement. You're called to step outside of your own little world and actively love God's people, serving alongside them to support the much larger vision. And this isn't just some modern organizational strategy. It is anchored right in the very words of Jesus in John 13. Loving one another isn't just a nice suggestion, it's a divine commandment. Think back to the early church we see in Acts chapter 2. We're talking about believers who were deeply intertwined, sharing their lives and genuinely carrying each other's burdens. That is the baseline culture of the family you've been adopted into. Section 2. Godhead and Divine Order, the Ultimate Foundation. Moving beyond just the warmth and the belonging, we really have to understand that this spiritual family is not some chaotic free-for-all gathering. Not at all. It is strictly governed by divine order. And before we even start looking at human leadership, we've got to recognize that true order begins at the absolute top. God is your Father, establishing that primary, ultimate bond, while Jesus Christ holds the absolute positions of head, Lord, and chief shepherd. Literally, every single piece of church structure we're about to discuss flows directly downward from this supreme, unshakable authority. Section 3. Spiritual Leadership and Authority, the Structural Pillars. So, to maintain this divine order here on earth, God established very specific, structural pillars of human leadership within His church. We're looking at a cascade of spiritual authority descending perfectly from pioneering founders all the way down to local mentors. And listen, this isn't a corporate ladder, it's a supportive framework. God puts these specific roles in place so the flock is guided, taught, and protected at every single level. Let's break down exactly how each role functions. Right at the foundational level of human leadership, we have apostles and prophets. The text emphasizes that these leaders are placed in the church by God specifically to pioneer His work. They are the true vision carriers. More than that, they're meant to serve as the primary spiritual fathers of the movement, guiding both the overarching congregation and the local leaders who serve faithfully under them. Ephesians chapter 2 anchors this beautifully. It proves that God Himself placed these visionary roles directly into the bedrock of the church. A biblically structured church doesn't just invent fancy titles for prestige. It recognizes apostles and prophets as essential, load-bearing pillars that uphold the entire spiritual house. Now, as we move down the framework, notice the distinct functional difference here. Pastors and elders are the shepherds of the local church. They guide, teach, and care for the congregation on a daily basis. But pastors and teachers have a highly specific mandate: to equip the believers for the work of the ministry. It's fascinating, right? One role actively tends to the flock, the other hands you the exact tools you need to help build a house. And it's really incredible to see that even outside of formal preaching titles, God's order completely utilizes the wisdom of generations. Aged fathers and spiritual mothers hold immense, vital structural authority. Older men are meant to explicitly model faith and temperance, while spiritual mothers are literally set in the church to teach and guide the younger women. Spiritual mentorship isn't just a nice idea to have, it is a recognized, heavily respected pillar of the church. Section 4. Proper conduct of the flock. Your duty as living stones. Okay, we've looked at the leadership, but remember, a building is mostly made up of its stones. So now we arrive at the base of the architecture, the flock. The absolute baseline expectation for every single one of us today is a foundation of mutual brotherhood and deep, natural respect for generational elders. Existing as brethren means totally eliminating petty divisions. It means treating your peers as actual family and creating a genuine environment of honor and cohesion. When it comes to the spiritual leaders placed over you, the source material is crystal clear. You must maintain a spirit that encompasses 5 critical attitudes: loyalty, honor, submission, sonship, and prayer. This is exactly where divine order gets incredibly practical. You aren't just asked to simply tolerate your leadership. You are required to actively honor them, fully submit to their spiritual guidance, embrace a real posture of sonship or daughterhood, and relentlessly back them up in prayer. I really want to slow down here for a second because Hebrews 13 provides the ultimate grounding weight to this mandate. It reminds us exactly why this order exists in the first place. Your leaders watch out for your souls. Think about that. They carry a heavy spiritual burden for your well-being. Submission and loyalty aren't about puffing up some human ego. They are about aligning yourself beneath God's protective architecture so that your soul is guarded, nurtured, and completely safe. As we wrap up this explainer, you really have to ask yourself, what is the true posture of your heart toward your spiritual family and the authorities God has placed over you? Understanding the architecture is only the very first step. Will you actively choose to engage? Will you love the brethren, serve the vision, and genuinely honor the apostles, prophets, pastors, and spiritual mothers set in place for your growth? Take a moment today to reflect on your place as a living stone and ask yourself how you can better uphold the divine order today.